All right. Aloha Love Tribe. Guess who I have with me here? I have one of the most beautiful, radiant music producers on our planet. She helps people get whole, healthy, nourished with her music, with her yoga teachings, and with her nutritional yum yum to get you full and feeling like the best version of yourself. My sweet sister, Eartha Harris of Living Light. Aloha. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, shucks. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, you said shucks. All right, everybody. Are you from the South, sister?
No, I'm not. I'm very much from Massachusetts, but I did live for 4 years recently in North Carolina, so maybe it rubbed off on me.
Do they rock some shucks down there in North Carolina? Have you
Probably,
heard?
well, the section I was in, not so much. Travel out of some little progressive bubbles a little bit, and you can start to hear it.
Right on. So what's hot, yummy, and alive for you right now? It's so what's really neat, guys, is today is 12/12/19. We're doing this recording here, and it was a full moon, a few hours ago. And so it's kind of a neat moment to kind of let go of things that no longer serve us. And, we don't want to hold on to these old things in our lives. And so Eartha, you help people move forward on their journey to wholeness with the music and with the food and with body movement and intentions. And so how can what's going on for you right now that, you think you can help let our listeners know about your life right now?
Oh gosh, so much. So much good stuff's happening. As far as music, well, this is a very busy week, although I know this will be viewed later. But yeah, like for instance, today, right after this, I'm going and I'm DJing Ecstatic Dance. In the morning, I'm hopping on a flight to go to Denver to play with Random Rab. Then right after that, a few days home, then flying to Guatemala to play this really beautiful festival called Cosmic Convergence that actually
cool.
supports the Guatemalan people of Santiago, which are like an original kind of Mayan culture that's preserved there. After that, I'm coming back and I'm always working on music and working with nutrition clients. So I had like a few weeks of that. Then I'm leaving to teach. I'm leaving in Costa Rica to do my first week-long teaching music production retreat, which is an all-women's retreat.
I want to go. I didn't hear about this. Sign me up, dude. Hello.
Yeah, it looks like something really awesome. It's on the Caribbean Sea side of Costa Rica. And
is it full? Do you need more people? Do we need to promote this for you? Are you full?
It's getting pretty full. There might be, like a couple of spots left.
But by the time this airs, it's going to be 120, like January 20th. So are you going to be gone already by then?
No, I'm not leaving until like the first week of February.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it starts February 6th. I think it's February 6th to February 13th. So there's I'm one of, I think, like 9, 10 instructors at least. My focus is going to be on electronic music production. There's other instructors that are more focused on DJing, more focused on like setting up studios, some, for recording vocals, mastering. So it's like all of the different subjects are going to be presented there. Lots of learning about Ableton Live.
Yeah, I love Ableton. Rock some Ableton. Is Alia going to be there for some reason, like, do you know who Alia is?
Excuse me. Yes, I do. I've actually done, did a couple of remixes for her. I know I've done at least one remix for her. No, she's not going to be at this one.
Wow, this sounds so cool.
Other ones possibly.
Okay, so this is new. Like, I just got to have like a cool 20-minute drop in before we hit record here, but I didn't know that this was on your awesome radar. Why is it so important to put women together and do music?
Well, that's actually a really good question. So for me, I've been basically a music producer. Like I like to say my whole life, because it started out as like a guilty hobby, like that thing that I would do when I was supposed to be doing my homework. I had little keyboards I would run off and play with, and then over time I realized that this is something I was very good at. So when I was in college, I was doing there was a MIDI lab back in the days, what it was called, but a music production course there. I was always the only female all the semesters I took it. But it took me a really long time to realize that, when I started touring in the late 90s with a very different project then. For some reason, it just took me a really long time to notice that there's never any other women on stage. There's also no other women running the shows, like the event promoters or like working the shows.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about it until probably like halfway through my career. I just noticed that every time I would show up, I wasn't approached. Like I would try to talk and there'd be this kind of glazed look over me, and they'd like walk off to the men to ask them questions because they assumed I was the girlfriend. Now this hasn't happened in a long time, but back in the day it was an issue, and certainly it took me years to even get like a record label or booking agent, because there was often this feeling that like, yeah, we like your music, but there's just not really a draw for women right now. Sort of blaming it on the industry. And so I didn't really realize that I'd kind of stepped into a sort of invisible, unintentional boys club, at least around electronic music and electronic music production. I was in a jam band for a while, and certainly it's present there, but I think there's reasons why a lot of women aren't really interested in being in jam bands. But I don't know. So I picked up everything I could along the way, from college courses, from being around other musicians, from working with them. In some cases I used to sing vocals, and so I would go there and like sing vocals on their backing tracks or whatever, and I'd just be asking lots of questions in the studio. But I can understand why there would be an intimidation factor, for women to get into this field. Sometimes I think maybe it might feel similarly for like a guy to go to his first yoga class or something, and he's the only guy in there. All these women are very flexible, and they've been doing it for years.
Like, rah,
right? So, I mean, I guess for me, I kind of just plowed through it and didn't really think about it until I was already well versed in music. And so the gender issue wasn't really a thing for me until I started feeling like there was some pushback due to my gender around bookings and things like that.
Totally.
But I was definitely lucky growing up growing from Boston. It's very progressive here, and there's a lot less gender politics at play than, say, for in the South, where there's this very strong, like, men do this, women do this, and you all hang out, with each other. And so I wasn't really brought up with like these gender roles that I was supposed to fit into. So I think that helped my headset. But certainly I think that any situation where there is a focus on a gender or gender identifying group is what we want to say for this, that there's an automatic decrease in distraction that can happen, an increase in comfortability. As a sidebar, I really noticed this when I played a festival in Panama last February. That was the first festival that actually had a 50% female lineup. This was called Geo Paradise Tribal Gathering down in Panama. And I didn't realize how relaxing it would feel. But for the first time, I was just, hanging out with all women. And I couldn't really explain why there was this sense of ease, but there's just, suddenly it wasn't a big deal to be a female producer. It was just like, we could just drop that whole story, which is how I've always wanted it. Like, we're just musicians, we're musicians, DJs, producers. There wasn't a special women's stage. There wasn't special women's slots. Like, everyone was mixed in. And it was just like, it was not a big deal. And it was so relaxing. I kept wondering why. I just felt like there's all this extra mental activity that just didn't have to be there. So I think an environment like that, fostering an environment like that in the situation with Shakti Sound, it just allows for more focus on the actual creative process and learning.
Right. It's like the art form gets to be the focus instead of the interaction with the other energies of, male, female, whatever your identity, looks like. I get that, and I know for me coming up in the 90s and the early 2000s, it was very like male dominated, and it was all these dude DJs, and they'd be like, oh my God, there's a girl, um, and I'm not a music producer like you are. I just am a performer, and I like to push play and hopefully rock some people's vibes and go have fun. Right. But it is a very, it's important to have all of our voices heard, masculine, feminine, and all of the things in between. And so I love that you're doing this, and I get it. I just want to hear more about it. And, cause it's nice. Like, you don't want to just have this, like, okay, we're going to have a lineup that's exactly 50-50, guys, girls, people with pink hair or purple hair, whatever. It's like, you want to have the best quality, yummy artists, to show up and create a soundtrack for the experience of people for that, event, festival, whatever it is. But it is nice to, I think the more of us ladies who show up and just say, hey, it's no big deal, just show up and do the thing, it gives us permission. It gives the younger artists permission to just go for it, because it's just like, it doesn't matter. It's okay if it's mostly this or that, but like, just do your light, do your magic, do your music, do your art, and, that's what you're supposed to do on this planet. You're tapped on the shoulder to go share. So thanks for being a light for everybody. And, I can't wait to hear a little bit more about that. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, okay. So at Dance Our Dreams podcast, we always have an experiment of the week. And the experiment of the week you chose, I was laughing because I was telling you earlier, Elizabeth and I, who's my, superstar project manager, assistant goddess who makes everything happen. She was like, Eartha wants us to do yoga before coffee. And
evil. I know.
And she lives in El Salvador, so it's just like, she's just like, what? You don't do anything before coffee. So help us understand what to do and why this is important and how it's benefited you.
Okay, well, first I will say that yes, while I feel my best when I stick to this, I don't always stick to it every day. But if you can try it as an experiment for a week, I think you might be hooked. So I'll tell you
okay.
where the process where I came up with this. So I did a second yoga teacher training, a 500-hour yoga teacher training that took place in Kerala, India. That one of the facilitators is one of my teachers, this woman named Kobe Kozlowski. And she's also an incredible life coach. And so during basically one of the assignments we had in order to even get our certification was that after we spent our 6 weeks in India, we had to come home and immediately upon coming home designate X amount of time every day to do yoga and X amount of time every day toward working towards doing something we love or that we're passionate about, aka our big dream, or Svadharma, as it was referred to.
Oh, okay.
And so I decided that, and another part of the yoga teacher training is that most yoga teacher trainings work this way. If you're in a live-in kind of teacher training, you roll out of bed, bunk bed, whatever it is, and you immediately hit the mat. Like, you have enough time to like brush your teeth, and then you hit the mat and you do yoga, and then you go have your coffee and etc. And that really helps you deepen meditation and deepen the entire practice. So I decided I was just going to combine these things all into one thing in the morning. So I'd roll out of bed, hit my mat, and at first I was like, I'll just do 10 minutes, but it felt so good that 10 minutes turned into half an hour, turned into like an hour. If you have blood sugar issues, you can, take a little bite of something, just to kind of make sure you're not stressing your body. But in my experience, the yoga felt great. And then I went to have the coffee, and it changed the coffee buzz. And it's because I was already in this like blissful state where my parasympathetic nervous system, my fight or flight response was down, my relaxation was up. Then to add coffee gave me this nice smooth buzz. To bring that directly into my passion, my big dream is producing music. was this amazing synthesis of all these things coming together to create time and space and to have the right headspace to really create what I wanted to create. And a little backstory is that this is how I started Living Light. So prior to Living Light, I had had multiple musical projects for many, many years. And when I was self-producing, it would literally take me like years just to write, say, 7 songs. After applying this technique, I had an entire album done of 9 tracks, pretty much within 4 months.
Wow.
Immediately, signed to record label. Immediately, it was distributed around the world. Went #1 on Beatport. And suddenly, my touring life began, and
Wow.
it was really potent. And it does take a level of dedication. So very often, many of us may have the 9-to-5 job or 8-to-7 job is turning into this culture, which means setting the alarm clock a little early. Those of us who maybe have more flexibility with our schedules, then, it's not so difficult. You're not having to make a huge sacrifice. But what I found is that even if it meant a little bit less sleep, it still had, the benefits way outweighed it. The process is basically, it just helped me to get into my body, get grounded, become sort of creatively connected, become connected to the creative side of myself, then fuel that with coffee, and then apply that into the external representation of whatever that may be for you. And in my case, it was writing Eclectic Visions, the first Living Light album. So I think you'll be amazed, even if you just do a few minutes of these things, the results that show up very quickly in your life. So your challenge, if you're willing to take it, is to try it for a week and see what happens.
Totally. And so, okay, so for those of us, like I've gone through a lot of life remodeling and done, I love experiments. That's my jam. And I like to share cool, simple tricks for people to go make their lives better. Like one of the things I would do was put a song on my alarm clock. And just as soon as that went on, I was supposed to jump out of bed and go dance around on my deck, just to
awesome.
go, just don't even argue with the alarm clock. Just shut up, go out with your little crusty eyes and dance on the deck.
Oh, I love
that.
If
there's snow, right? And so that was something that, in the beginning, there was a lot of resistance because it was like, no, I'm supposed to hit snooze 3 times and it's cold and I don't have my robe and blah, blah, blah. And it was something for me that as I kept doing that and integrating it into my life, it's a part of my life now. And I feel so my days feel weird if I don't do that, if I'm in another spot. Right. And so so it sounds like this is something you still integrate in your life. And do you keep a yoga mat next to your bed, or is it something you have to go to a whole nother room and make happen? Or are you just kind of okay, I wake up, I'm just going to start doing my jam, how does it work for you to make it, help the listeners make it, approachable and digestible?
Well, what I generally do, depends on your living situation. If you have roommates and you only have one room, then roll out the yoga mat right next to your bed. And there's been times that's been the case, or when I'm touring, I do that. I bring a little travel mat.
Yeah.
So that there's really no excuse. It's all I need to do is just drink some water and roll onto the mat. And to take it a step further, I'll even set up my laptop with yogatoday.com, which is the yoga website that I've been using for years.
Ooh, cool. I got to write that down.
Yeah. Lots of variety of different links and styles on it. And I'll pre-set up what I'm going to work out to. So literally just roll onto the mat, hit play, and I'll even just lay there and I'm already hearing the yoga teacher bark at me. And it's like, okay, I'll just do 5 minutes of this. Okay, maybe 10, So there's so much to be said about stories we tell ourselves, especially ones that are, ingrained into habit. I'm supposed to hit snooze 3 times. Well, what if you just got up?
Yeah.
What if you just got up? I'm supposed to have coffee first. Well, what if you just did 5 minutes of yoga first? Maybe we don't have to go from 0 to 100. Maybe we can build a foundation of groundedness and calm as we slowly work our way up to 100, so that by the time we hit 100, we're focused on that thing that we love doing the most. And then that starts to, put the fuel behind it into bringing that into a more prominent area of our lives.
Yeah. And then it obviously, like you said, your practice has dribbled in and dripped in and just oozed into your music production. It's like we do these things because it affects the rest of our life. So whether you're a business person or a music producer or a food person or a mom or whatever your jam is, it's like if you fill yourself up with yummy, sticky goodness and then you can drip it into the rest of your life, that's the whole point of this, And it sounds like I love hearing the accelerated pace at which you were able to create your albums and your songs, because I know for me as a creator and a writer and doing a lot of different things, I get stuck. And then there's times where I'm just like, woohoo, I'm on fire. And typically the times when I'm on fire is when I'm using something with my body and some kind of movement and dance and certainly some kind of music. Like this morning I was playing Walking on Sunshine. Remember that song? Walking on.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, dude, this is going to last for at least 2 hours. Like this is like just a dose. This one song is going to get me high for 2 hours to do some recording with you and some other stuff. And it's just like, wow, we can really, if we're mindful, we can really do the things like you're saying and create more output and more impact in our lives and on the planet. So it's like, it's this duty as people who care about making a difference on the planet, which I believe everybody who's listening does care about the planet. And it's like, it's part of your mission and your duty to take care of your body and your food and everything that you put in, and your movement. So let's talk about the SDG of the week that you chose, the no poverty, or excuse me, the zero hunger. Number 2. So that's a big deal, And so obviously hunger comes in many forms. There's spiritual hunger, there's physical hunger, there's mental and emotional hunger. As a nutritional therapist and guide, like, why is this so important for you and how do you help people with that?
So it's very important for me. I would start out with personal reasons. When I was younger, when I was, just starting out my music career, I felt very held back by mysterious nagging health issues that everywhere I looked, people were saying, oh, that's normal. It's like I was, in my early 20s, I was like, well, I'm not supposed to be feeling like I'm 70, but just like all over muscle pain, fatigue, irritability, I could just tell that this isn't what normal is supposed to feel like. And I went to doctors for many, many years, and they were just like, oh, just take some antidepressants and some birth control pills. Like every single doctor I went to told me, I was like, well, yeah, I'm depressed because my body hurts all the time. I don't have energy to do all these things that I'm dreaming of doing. I don't have the focus and I just don't feel right. And, inflammation, how inflammation affects the body, there's been a lot more advances of that in the last few years of its understanding, including how it affects the mind, the brain, moods. But I tried their recommendations for very, very limited amounts of time because I would immediately just, make everything worse. So after many years of struggling with these unknown, issues for my health, I finally found out about nutritionists and health coaches, and someone I know became a health coach, and I sat down and had a chat with her, and she was like, yeah, try taking a couple of these things out of your diet. And what had been plaguing me for over a decade, suddenly immediately it was like I had a new lease on life.
Wow.
It wasn't that everything was suddenly healed, but it was like I was like 75% better. But then I'd still have these like flare-ups where they would come back. And so I had to start to really hone in on ingredients, read every single wrapper, find out alternate names for things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I had to start learning how, certain foods affect hormones in the body, affect inflammation in the body. Even foods that we maybe previously thought were healthy, things like wheat and soy. Of course, sugar is never good, but there were just, the deeper I got into it, the more amazing I felt. And then and then the more that came out in my ability to actually like follow my dreams and, you know, create them here in reality. And you know, as time went on, in my yoga practice deepened. I became a yoga instructor, and I also became very interested in Ayurveda through that. And as I started getting the results of that, I'm like, you know, I just want more science. Like, why is this working?
Yeah.
So that's when I went to the Nutritional Therapy Association, which is an incredible school that is very, very science-based in their explanations. It's different than health coaching in that it doesn't discuss like, okay, there's this diet, there's this diet, there's this diet. It's like, okay, here's how to read a person from they call it the north to south process, from the moment food enters the mouth, the moment it leaves the body, and all the branches it goes out to create our bodies on like a, you know, mitochondrial cellular level. Here's how to read a person. Here's how to see where like these dominoes are tipped in the system, how to align them. It was incredible. So the passion, to get back to your question, my passion behind this is that I felt held back from really living the life I wanted to and pursuing my dreams for so long, from these health issues that doctors and the American, at least medical system, was not able to help me with. When it was something that was, in some senses, very simple, is, you know, going back to simple eating and learning the science of the body and how food and supplements, you know, can correct these balances. And so I saw the result. I'm still seeing the results it's had on me. I mean, I you know, when I'm sticking to my diet, you know, I feel incredible every day. I have focus and energy and drive, and I've been able to fill up my days. I work a lot, as we were talked about earlier.
Yeah, 3 hours of sleep, man.
I'm on 3 hours of sleep for last night, but
but
I can't be upset about it because I just do what I love all the time, and so even though it's work, because I have the energy and clarity towards that, and I believe that if everyone in the world had this ability, you know, to feel clear and energetic, that we'd make a lot better decisions, that we'd be less passive, and that, you know, at least I can only speak about, you know, our culture in the US, you know, that there would be, we might not be in the current state that we're in with, you know, politically, environmentally, economically, that you know, there'd be a lot more clarity in the collective, as far as like healthy directions to go in our lives, which, you know, would show up collectively in our culture. So yeah, this is so zero hunger. You know, to me, it's not just about getting foods to people who aren't, you know, able to get foods, but more so education and assistance in getting nourishing foods, nutrient dense, nourishing foods. You know, it's sad for me that in our culture, you know, I have clients that come to me that, you know, their biggest challenge is that they just can't afford to eat healthy foods. And, you know, one of my jobs with these clients is to help them navigate those waters, you know, help them to choose. Maybe they can't afford organic, maybe they can't afford grass-fed, et cetera, but to help them, you know, navigate the waters of our current, honestly messed up food system, on the budgets that they have. But it makes me sad, though, you know, that I guess I could put it, you know, we call it organic and grass-fed. My great grandmother, who lived to so she was 116 and a half when she passed away. She was the oldest living person on the planet.
What?
And she would just call it food. Like we call it, you know, just what she would call food is what we're like, okay, it's organic, it's grass-fed, etc. You know, she just lived in the woods in Georgia alone till she was 100, you know, after her, my great grandfather passed away in her 50s, and she grew her own vegetables, and she bought, you know, just the local meats from the local farmers. That was, the cows ate grass, you know, this little preserved area of the South. She never once set foot in a supermarket, and like ever, she didn't trust them. She wouldn't eat anything out of a plastic package. She didn't trust it.
Wow.
And now the food that she was eating is considered specialty food,
Mm.
but it shouldn't be. So this is all, these are all the reasons why nutrition is so important for me, and being able to get access, having people in lower income situations being able to access this high quality food that should really just be called real food, is of extreme importance to me.
It sounds to me like holy cow, wow, $1.16. That's old, but her food was her medicine, and it was, like you said, it was just food, like in the old days. But now that we've got this, uh, commercial structure, and how are we going to feed the masses quickly and supposedly cheaply? Um, I get the whole, there's so much pollutants and the GMOs and all the pesticides and the crap that, are sprayed so that we can create these mass crops. It seems like micro farming and teaching people how to, even if they grow like a little, foot by foot, this little container garden, it's like, okay, at least you can have some fresh greens, and your kids can, like, I'm going to pull a carrot out or whatever and figure out, like, okay, I live in, I'm in Colorado, so it's cold. So it's like, we have this much of a growing season. So it's like, how can you teach people in this climate to make like a mini greenhouse in their basement or whatever? There's all these opportunities to teach people, to empower them so that they don't have to rely on this other, okay, I got $10, so I'm going to get, 20 tacos at the drive-through for my family versus,
Right.
how can I go give them something a little healthier? So, is that something that do you help people with that? Or is that something you're interested in, sharing and learning and, giving them tools for part of your practice?
Well, I would love to learn more about home farming. I'm in Boston, and all the houses are about that close to each other.
Right. I know. And it's like, where's the light? Here's the sliver of light that comes
My
in.
little sliver
Yeah.
of light over here.
Right. Yeah.
That's something I would love to know more about. I think that, what I'm really searching for, and I haven't really found the right avenues yet, but, is how to support systems that can, work with the current food system, because, it's not going to be, I shouldn't say it's not going to be possible, but I can see it being very, very challenging for a lot of people to be like, okay, I'm just going to start to grow my own vegetables. So how can we, start to incorporate like, permaculture on a larger scale, or how can we, or even not, even if it's more advanced in technology, more advanced in science, like how to, how to not be having to crowd cattle in, so that we're feeding it corn and soy, and then we have to feed it the hormones and the steroids so it doesn't get sick from the corn and the soy and the crowding, and which actually changes the omega fatty acid structure of it. And so we're eating, that's why the meat's pro-inflammatory. Like how can we, like, for instance, I'm actually going, I don't know where the lab growing meat issue is going to go, but like if they can do it well and correctly and close to nature, then I'm all for it. Much of like a part-time hippie I am, like I'm also, other side of me, equal science and progress. Progress, at least in the sense of like, I don't think we can do any better than, what Mother Nature's set up, but we're on a trajectory. So, how can we start to really first acknowledge that, yes, these things are making us sick. And then, secondly, with the amount of people and the trajectory we're going, apply science towards that.
Totally. Yeah. And use the science to, help move Mother Nature forward to feed the masses. I love it. I think it's just, obviously, it's crucial. Our food is our medicine. And I, of course, agree that music is our medicine as well. And so let's talk about that super quick. You chose, so at the podcast, we always have a song of the week. And I was curious. I was like, I want to hear one of your songs as a song of the week, but you chose Birds of Paradise, Wingspan, or the song Birds of Paradise by Wingspan. So it looks like it says Birds of Paradise, and it's opposite. Tell me about this. Like, I don't know if we've got it backwards. So.
Oh, okay. So I was thinking that it was like if there's a certain song that like really lights you up. Like, so for me, that is like, I think power song. Was that the question? Like if there's a power song?
Your power song, your jam, like, if obviously, like, I love the idea of having music, to help you through your experiment too. So if your experiment of the week, like this week, is like get on the mat before you have your coffee, like what lights you up? Do you play music while you're doing your yoga in the morning, or is it quiet for you? How does that work for you?
Well, see, that's actually a different thing. So as far as Birds of Paradise, who the artists, it's a duo named Tyler and Torian. So Birds of Paradise they're two producers, and this is one of the tracks that they created it many years ago, but it's just stayed one of those tracks where if I'm feeling down or frustrated or sad, or it's one of those, it's like it just picks me up. And honestly, I'll put it on and run on an elliptical, and that's like, it just snaps me back into place. As far as yoga, there's, I do like to have music on, but I like to think about it less. And so a lot of times that will be go to like YouTube, and there's certain artists that I like to put in. There's one artist named Suduaya, Suduya. He's a French producer. And he actually does a lot of like down-tempo yoga mixes that he has up on YouTube. And so I'll actually put his name in and listen to some of his mixes, or that might actually start to lead me towards other mixes that, just to have something going in the background. But I don't like to think about that too much, because if I have to think about it too much, then I'm suddenly going to think, oh, but I also have to make this Facebook post about the show that I'm playing tomorrow. And I didn't write my client back yet. Less time, the better.
Totally. Well, so where can everybody find you? I just heard a new remix that you have out with, is it DJ Taj? Is that right?
DJ Taj and Taz and Momentology. They produced an album together, and they contacted me this past summer about remixing one of their tracks. And so there's this one track that I've been kind of going this direction of slightly more up-tempo music. And, this track was in like that awesome, like 110, especially 111 BPM range that I love, where it's like not full on, like house tempo, but also not down tempo. So that just came out day before yesterday, the remixes of their track With the Tribe. Nice. If you're into yoga music, and by yoga music, I don't mean kirtan, but like, great music for ecstatic dance and yoga and stuff like that, then you're going to love everything on this remix album they just put out.
Nice. And so, okay, so let's talk really quick. We've got just a minute or two here. You said you're DJing at an ecstatic dance event a little bit later today, and some of our listeners may or may not know what ecstatic dance is. Why is that? What is it, and why is it so cool?
Ecstatic Dance is really neat because it's one of the few places I've found that I can go where everything is really focused on the experience that I'm having in my body and in my energy and in my mind. To lay out the few foundations around ecstatic dance, is a space where, usually a large space, because some people like to move very large. Exactly. And some people might just sit and meditate. So it's an autonomous zone. You can think of almost like a temporary autonomous zone as far as movement is concerned. However you feel need to express. Some people are breakdancing, some people are doing yoga, some people are meditating, some people are flailing their bodies around. There's no talking, and there's no shoes. Those are really the only two rules, and they're great rules, because the no talking, well, one, no shoes so you don't get hit in the face. No talking, because some people will be cartwheeling. And the no talking aspect, is really wonderful, because it takes all that buzzy social energy, and it brings everything down to just allowing us to be focused on our body. And then in some cases, people dance together. If that happens naturally, a lot of it is just going down to like eye contact and body movement. And I'm kind of one of those people that just go into my own space.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, but ecstatic dances are really great because, for many reasons. If you're just on a physical level, I find that I get like the best, hardest workouts from them. Literally 2 hours drenched in sweat, like continuous dancing is, and I'm not just talking, like club dancing. It's like full on, everything is expressive. Every cell is, being released, and it just, sometimes it feels like stepping out of like, a steam bath after running a marathon at the end. As a DJ, it's pretty awesome because you see people responding so much to what you're playing. And as a side note, I find DJing ecstatic dances to actually be the most challenging of all my sets.
Wow.
Because in music, the music will go from like maybe 0 beats per minute as an ambient track, up to maybe 150 beats per minute. If you're going into like at the peak of it, where there's tribal drumming, there's psytrance, there's, tribal house. And then you have to bring it all the way back down to like, 125, 88, 62, and I beat match it all and try and do it in seamless transition. So, so they're definitely special experiences for sure, whether you're a dancer or a DJ.
Yay. Oh my God. That's awesome. They're super special, and they're all individual and unique, depending on the crowd and depending on, who's the DJ / performer for that, the guide, the sonic sorceress, as it were, for the event. They're super cool. Where can everybody find you online, and how can they get, to be a client of yours? How can they come see your shows? How can they come, enjoy the magic that is you, my friend?
So I have these two little worlds that I try to combine together, which is my music world and my nutrition yoga world. As far as my music world, my main website is livinglightmusic.info, and I try to keep that updated regularly. But to follow my music and hear like the latest releases as they come out, Spotify is great. So you can follow me on Spotify as Living Light. Cool. I'm on SoundCloud as Living Light, and SoundCloud's nice because I actually have control over what's up there. So everything's going to be on SoundCloud, as far as even like the most underground, little remixes I've done for people. Cool. And then of course I'm on Bandcamp and iTunes and all the major music streaming and publishing outlets as far as the music. And it's on Facebook as well. It's a Facebook page. You can follow me there, where I'm always updating with my latest videos and blogs and shows, etc. Also on Facebook, I have a group called Living Lighter. And so this is a place where I sort of fuse a sort of fusion between Living Light fan club and music and nutrition. So I'm in this experiment where I'm trying to merge both. And so a lot of people really, are into both. And so I'm still kind of figuring out the balance there, but it's a place where I share, articles about nutrition I find interesting, or I write posts about it, as well as, articles about space and crazy art projects I find interesting, and, really everything that is inspiring to me. It's almost like Eartha's little like corner on the social media, as well as, talking with fans. And when I say fans, it's basically people I've invited over who have liked my Living Light page, and just sort of merging all those things into one soup. But the main goal of Living Lighter is, as the title suggests, like techniques to incorporate into living more positively, living lighter as opposed to heavier, and on that note, as far as nutrition, I've also just this past week started a separate women's group that is all about nutrition. And so we're going to be, I'm just starting to bring people in. It's called Light Club Girl Club.
Ooh.
So Light Club, sort of like Fight Club.
Yeah.
Light Club is a group coaching thing that I do every once in a while. And so Light Club Girl Club is a place for women to come together and have a safe place to talk about, like, hormones and the changes we go through and the challenges that we have and the things that are really unique to our female bodies and female brains and just the challenges of our side of the gender.
Of chickhood.
Yeah, exactly. And in both of these places are where I post about programs I do. I'm actually doing a cleanse. I'm not sure if this will have started by the time this comes out, but I am hosting a cleanse in mid-January. I'm a post-holiday clean out. It's a group cleanse I'm doing with people online.
Nice.
And you can find this information about these places. And then lastly, the place that kind of brings all this together. If you love my music and you're want to support more of what I'm doing from the nutrition and yoga standpoint, or you want to just hear more of my music, I do have a Patreon page.
Yeah.
This is where supporters donate as much as like $1 to $3 a month, which might not sound like very much, but if all 14,000 of my Facebook fans donated $1 a month, towards helping me to create, all the things that I'm doing, well, you can imagine that adds up. So, and on this Patreon, I'm beginning to offer things like little snippets of how I produce music, little coaching highlights here and there. This is the place where I put all my music up for free. If you're a $3 above, Patreon subscriber, you get to download stuff for free. Free tickets to festivals I'm playing and shows I'm playing, and really whatever I think of, I just kind of throw it up there as like thank yous to people supporting me there. So
I love it, and I saw that like when I'm looking at our outline and everything, and I saw the Patreon page, and the music industry has changed dramatically over the last decade or so, especially with the digital age coming up, and it's like. And I know all your music is on Spotify, and you get like 0.000000001 cent per play or something that's ridiculous. And so there's no way for you to support yourself. And most people are not buying music anymore. Really, they're not. And even as a DJ, like I love to buy my music because I want higher quality files. But most listeners, 99% of people are not. They're paying $10 a month or free for Pandora, Spotify. So the artists that you all love and cherish and want to hear more and more and more of their music, they can't feed themselves and buy the gear and take the time to be in the studios unless they're getting support like this through Patreon and even touring. And I know it's so hard to tour, and it's so hard, and you're not making, $10 million a show kind of thing. And so if you guys love artists, go support them through Bandcamp, through Patreon, and buy their music as much as possible. But just these they help so much. And like you said, even if it's $1 a month or a couple bucks a month, it adds up, and it gives the artist the opportunity to focus on music instead of figuring out like, what, I need to go have 3 more side hustles just so I can go make an album. So please, please, please support our beautiful artists, and please support Eartha. And I'm so happy that you are making music and sharing your love and light and living light. I've been noticing the light trickling on your face throughout this whole interview. And when your hands move, it's like you're like light shoots out of your fingers. I'm like, holy shit, this chick is living light.
I've been trying to work with the light coming through, but I was like, oh wait, we're doing video. Hold on, I have to set up my things.
It's so awesome. It's so awesome. All right. I can't wait to celebrate you and continue to support you on your journey. And thank you so much for spending time with us here at Dance Our Dreams. Is there one more tiny little, nugget of just, if this was the last thing you were to say to everybody on earth, what would it be?
Well, that would probably be that we have infinite possibilities within the finite containers of our challenges or problems. I will give credit to my yoga instructor, Kobe Kozlowski, for the inspiration behind this, because she presented an idea that was very similar to this when I was working with her in India, and it's something that definitely changed my life. The quick example I'll give is that when I came back, I applied this to starting Living Light, and I'd been in a live band. I hadn't produced music in, I guess, like 10 years. All of my programs were old. All of my computer was old. I could barely, I didn't even know how I was actually going to even do it, how I was going to even write it. And I didn't have money to be able to go out and upgrade everything. And I was like, well, just do it anyway. There's infinite possibilities, just get crafty and just make this album that clearly wants to come through. And so I just got as creative as I could and made the album with what I had. And it came out of me very quickly. And like I mentioned earlier, I never would have known that the album, it was for the month it was out, after it was released, it was the #1 best-selling dub reggae album, Beatport, #2 in electronica, and #3 in down tempo, or those are reversed. And then it was the #2 best-selling dub reggae album on Beatport for the entire year.
Wow. Oh my
And
gosh.
only because I didn't stand in my way,
Good.
only because I was just like, this is what I have. I'm just going to make something out of this. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It just has to be made. So
Right. Give
don't let
birth to that
stories,
creativity.
yeah, don't let stories that you're telling yourself hold you back from your mission. Do it anyway.
Oh, I love it. And I love that, because I know we get, as artists, we're like, well, I need to have the most up-to-date gear and everything needs to be perfect and the software and this and that. And I'm like, people were banging on rocks and stuff and they can make a song. So do that. And it sounds like Amani from Desert Tracks picked you up. And because you said yes to your dream and you didn't get in your own way, you got to go get propelled forward this way. That's right? So
exactly. Yes.
Totally.
Yes. I'm very thankful for Trevor and Amani. Yeah.
Yeah. Rock on, brothers. We love you so much. So keep rocking, everybody here. And thanks so much for tuning in. And okay, yoga before coffee. That's our jam this week. So let's do it. And let us know how it is. And, find Eartha on Facebook, DM her, tell her how you're doing on your experiment. Tell me how you're doing. We want to hear from you. And we want you guys to get juiced up and fueled up so that you can keep rocking your big dreams and serving our beautiful planet. So, all right, let's everybody take a big inhale together. And exhale. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Eartha. This has been such a treat. I really hope that everybody gets rocking and rolling from all of your juicy wisdom. Yay.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Aloha, everybody.